All right, I think we are live. It's been a while since I've done this. Badger Lodge. I was gonna do a show with Karen and Allison today, but Karen and Allison are both not feeling well. So it has come, it is up to me to maintain and keep the show going, keep the things thinging. So I'm here to do a Badger Lodge, and that's okay because I got a lot of stuff I want to get off of my chest. And hopefully, you all will also get some things off of your chest. So, the Badger Lodge is basically our call in show that is hosted by me, the resident XY on on the field, I guess. The only XY on the field, other than Dr. Random McCam and Mike and others occasionally. Um, and what this is I put a link in the description to our call-in show Discord server, and you can just go make sure everything sounds. Do I sound okay? I just want to make sure I sound okay. I'm not going out on the vertical, so let me just check this really quick. Yeah, now I should be out on the vertical. You guys should be able to hear me. I hope. Now I'm like starting to wonder if the sound is going out. So let me just capture my microphone. Here we go. And you guys should be able to hear me on the vertical stream as well. It's a little bit kitschy. No, the regular horizontal stream is fine. I know that's working, but the vertical I just set up. I hadn't done it for the Badger Lodge, so this is the vertical for the Badger Lodge. Let me just move this over a little bit. I need a haircut really bad. I haven't had a chance. I was gonna go get a haircut yesterday, and then there was this terrible storm, and it just like it was a terrible storm. Like there was flooding. Lindsay's job lost power. There was brownouts everywhere. It poured and poured and poured. Virginia, what are you gonna do? So anyway, all that out of the way. So this is the Badger Lodge call-in show. I usually have something on my mind that I want to talk about, but the primary purpose of this is to talk to you guys. So please go into the link in the description, click on that, join the Discord. It's just for this show. It will be expired. I think some people hang around in the Discord for a while afterwards and sort of like share memes and stuff. But generally it ends after the show is over, and you can go into the screening room, which you'll have access to. Darth Sonic 413 is in there. He's going to make sure that all of your audio is set up correctly and get an idea of what it is you want to talk about. And then when you're ready, I will bring you into the show channel, and you'll be able to come on the show and share your thoughts on whatever. So yeah, it doesn't have to be what I'm talking about today, but whatever you want is fine. And I will do my best to entertain you. So we'll be here for about an hour and a half, and then I'm gonna go get some dinner with the wife. I think we're gonna have scallops, and I'm kind of excited because I'm hungry because I haven't really been eating. So anyway, with all that out of the way, let me show you guys what I've been thinking about. So I've been thinking about the fact that we are in an election year, and in the United States at least. And I know that a lot of people don't like to talk about politics, but I have to tell you that you can't really avoid it. Number one, you can, I guess, if you want, but it's not going to serve you in the long run, because the people that we are dealing with have a very they worship this stuff. Okay, so that's one. The other thing, though, is that you should, if you are interested in men's issues, you should understand the ways that the interested parties, people who are seeking power, can leverage and use gender dynamics, specifically our disdain for men, our misandrist sort of default settings, to get people to vote the way that they want. And this works on men and women. And I want to show you this. This was shared by Libs of TikTok. No, paying attention does. I don't think anything is pointless. If you are informed, you are prepared. If you are prepared, you can protect yourself. No one is saying that you can change the world. No one is saying that. But you can protect yourself. And that's probably enough, right? So no black pilling in here. You got to do something. It might as well be productive. This is like the one thing that we have as men is our ability to self-actualize and our ability to act on information, whether even if it only ends up protecting us and the people who we care about the most. But that is the one thing we have. And when you say nothing matters, you are giving these people what they want. You are the weak men that they talk about. So I won't have it. But do whatever you want. It's fine. You know, I'm going to keep saying what I'm going to say. I'm going to keep on streaming. I'm going to keep on talking about this stuff. Doesn't change anything for me because I know that it's important. And pretending like it isn't is not helpful. Because the people that we're dealing with, they think it's very important. Like I said, they are religiously committed to this, like a cult. It's not just like, you know, a belief that you hold to like help you make sense of the world. It is a devout thing that defines their very being, is what they believe. And I'm going to show you this. So this video is from Libs of TikTok. I want to make sure I don't miss anything. Again, click on the link so that you can jump into the show and talk to me yourself. And this is an actual ad from a Kamala PAC, which is Political Action Committee. And it's, let me see if you guys, let me know if you guys can hear this okay. I should probably make sure that the video is going to play. So let me just change to the source. And I'm going to play this for you guys. Here we go.
Us MAGA Republicans banned abortion, but that's just the start.
That's just the start.
If Trump gets elected, we want the government involved in all aspects of your sex life.
Way more involved.
Way more involved.
When you have sexual intercourse, it should be illegal to use contraception. No pills, no condoms.
Your genitals are reserved for procreation.
If you freeze 12 eggs, you should be required to have 12 babies, or else you're a serial killer. And I'm definitely not a serial killer.
Are you?
My son monitors my porn usage to make sure I'm not self-pleasuring.
Just like Speaker of the House Mike Johnson. That's true, you can look it up.
Don't you think that's normal?
Yeah, I do.
It's normal for your son to do that.
You should have a family member monitor your porn use too.
Because pleasuring yourself is very, very naughty.
I'm voting in November.
I'm voting in November. We're all voting in November. Are you?
Because what happens in your bedroom is up to me.
Is up to me and my son. Also, mouth stuff is a sin.
So okay, you're probably looking at this and you're saying this is absolutely ridiculous. Okay. This is what works. Who does this work on though? I will just put this out there. If you wanted to terrify people into voting for a certain candidate, I mean, if you want to get someone to vote for a certain candidate, basically, there are two approaches you could do. You could either talk about what the benefits of voting for the candidate that you're recommending is and how it will be in their best interest to look into that, or you present this kind of an argument, which is these are the negative consequences. But what are they showing us in this video? Like, what are they showing us? They're showing us strange straw men versions of men. So you got like these kind of like, oh, he's a bald guy in a sweater. And then we have these sweaty dudes. And actually, as the video progresses, these guys get more and more sweaty and weird and gross. They're showing you the thing that women fear about men, which they have been propagandized to fear for generations, okay? And now all they have to do is show you something like this, and it will probably work. It will probably work on some of these women. So this is where our level of discourse is at. And this is the thing I wanted to like bring up is that like the way that we talk about essentially anything to do with policy or law or just our culture in general, even when there isn't an election year going or some kind of a ruling happening or whatever, the rhetoric defaults to the same thing. Be afraid, be afraid, be afraid because men. And it doesn't matter. And this is the thing nobody catches. I mean, obviously they used a bunch of white dudes, but that's only because that's only like the cherry on top. Frankly, it's just about men. It's just that if they presented this video and they use all black men, it would look bad on them because they would be exposing their actual bigotry, but it wouldn't be seen in the correct way. So, you know, I did a fireside chat with Malcolm and Simone Collins, and they, you know, cleverly, I suppose, they cleverly put the word black before men when they were describing the bear meme. And I guess it was, I say this not to necessarily like downplay the effectiveness of how Malcolm and Simone presented it, but rather to point out, do you see that you have to do that for people to see it this way? So this kind of campaign, such as it is, it's effective primarily because it features men. And it features men saying absurd things like how, you know, they're going to control women's bodies. They're going to consider it a serial killer if you, like, you know, don't use every egg that you produce, that you should only have sex for procreation. These are all, frankly, ridiculous things to claim, but they are things that women have an existential fear of. And I'm going to show you how, with some examples from quote unquote conservative women that have the exact same opinions, because at the end of the day, all women are primarily interested in liberation and comfort above everything else. I mean, everything else, including the lives of the unborn. This is why they see it as not just it's a sovereign right to them. Even if they say, well, I would never get an abortion. But they don't care because they want to reserve that. They want to reserve that privilege anyway, even if they would never exercise it. So, I did get a call. So let me see. Darth Sonic, you sent through something. I assume this person is not calling into the show because they're not in the screening room. But let's look at your comment, and then I'm going to bring in the first caller. So, Darth Sonic 413, Viv Lives, that's my Discord. Our boy Disorder Drew wants to know why society seems to block off every positive role a man can have, leaving behind only playboys or transitioning to a woman. Well, that is exactly what they are doing, because a positive... Okay, so why would they allow playboys or transitioning? Because playboys and transitioning, they basically contribute to the decline. If a man transitions, he essentially turns himself into a eunuch, which is what they want. Yes, this is basically men becoming eunuchs because they think that it's better to live as a eunuch than to be a man. And that's because they want to destroy the population. They want men and women far away from each other. They want them at each other's throats. You could conclude whatever you like. I personally think it's satanic on purpose. You might find that language hyperbolic. I don't think it is. I think to be anti-life and anti-human is ultimately what it means to be satanic. But that is what they're doing, and I think it's on purpose. Yes, 100%. And that's why I think that men should not transition. I think that is a form of surrender, unless you legitimately have gender dysphoria, which is a mental illness that I think you should deal with. But if it's just like some kind of pragmatic decision that you think you're making, you know, like the trans maxer who I had on the show, who said, well, you know, I'm on the spectrum. I just saw like a cost benefit analysis and I chose to do this. I don't think that's a good reason to do it. I think that you are ultimately killing yourself in the long run. This is my opinion. This is my opinion. Okay. Maybe some people disagree with me. It's fine. Playboys, that also contributes to it. The reason for that is most men can't be playboys. So most men are going to end up incels. And the few that are playboys, the few that do, like, you know, have sex with lots and lots of partners, they are essentially ruining the lives of themselves and their partners in a way, because those women get like run through for a long time and then they can't find a man later on. And they're covered in tattoos and they have a bunch of babies from different baby daddies. So, you know, all of it contributes to the overall decline of our society. So I think that that is by design. Positive role models, positive masculine role models are anathema to these people, because those are the kinds of men that would stand up to authoritarianism. See, if a transition man is going to be too weak to do anything, and there's nothing that is going to like essentially drive them to want to make, you know, positive change, because there's no investment in the future. They don't have any kids. They don't have any reason to give a shit. So they will just sort of like let things go, and they'll just like have their porn and their video games, and that's it. Okay. Not shaming them. I'm just saying this is how the cathedral, the elite, see it. Okay. Men who are over there doing, you know, tranny porn or whatever, they're not a threat to them, because they've got their distractions and they're living that life, and they're going to take their entire line with them because they're not going to have any kids. And the ones that are playboys, they're also not going to be a problem, because they're not going to see a need to, like, you know, fight back. There's no duty to change things, to make things better, because for them it's as good as it's going to get. And most of the men who follow those guys are not going to be successful. So they're going to end up with like you know, alone probably, or maybe they're going to have like a woman with like somebody else's kids, and they're going to be raising somebody else's kids. So this is all on purpose. But like, if there was a positive male like archetype or number of archetypes, I think there's room, you know, within that for like a number of different positive male archetypes. Well, that's actually a threat to the establishment. It's a legitimate threat to that. That's why why do you think they have like entire campaigns now where they call guys like JD Vance weird? Like, that's their new thing, is basically saying they're weird. And that's, by the way, all that is the ick. So they're just saying JD Vance gives me the ick. And then when you look into it, he's just like anybody else. He's just a guy with a family and some kids, and that's it. But that's weird, right? And the purpose of that is to stigmatize normality and make it like fringe, which is, in a way, it has become that. Like, in a lot of ways, you know, if you're like a guy that, you know, isn't addicted to something, and doesn't have like tattoos all over, or a woman, for example, who's not covered in tattoos, with like a body count, you know, like bigger than her weight, and you know, like that's considered to be, if you don't have those qualities, you're considered weird. You know, like, I've never had tattoos. I had piercings when I was like in my 20s. I went through a period and I was like, oh, I'm gonna get piercings, and I went to like the club and I listened to industrial, you know, music and shit. And then I got over it. I just grew out of it. I was like, okay, the people here are not fun. Everyone's, you know, surface level. They're not interested in anything deep, and they all have problems that they haven't dealt with. So I just left that scene. But if I had gotten tattoos, I'd be stuck with that. You know, I'm sorry, but it's just not for me. If it's for you, that's fine, whatever. So anyway, my point is, a positive man, a man of means, is actually a threat to the elites. It is a threat to them. Fathers are dangerous to them. That's why they keep fathers out of the home. It's what they have done. They weakened the family. The feminists declared this hundreds of years ago, and they were right, you know? So there's that. Thank you. And then Darsonic says, I hope that answers your question, Disordered Drew. If you want to come in and, like, you know, expand on that, feel free. The link is in the description of this video to the Discord server. Then Darsonic gives me another message and says, our new boy Anger Dude would like to talk about the commercial. So let's talk about the commercial. I'm gonna bring Anger Dude into the chat. Let me just make sure I didn't miss any super chows or anything like that, because sometimes those go through. I did get one yesterday. No, it was earlier today. Very early today. And I'm just going to read it really quick. So it's a super chow from Feminist Ring into a Man's Ear Forever. Gave us $5. Thank you. And says, you can show simps hard, irrefutable facts and they will ignore it. Only when the obese feminist boot comes crashing down, then they understand, but not sooner. Chad Giganov. Thank you to the person who sent that message. Let's just make sure that we aren't missing anything. Any super chows or messages like that. And nope, we're good. So I'm gonna bring in Anger Dude now. Hopefully his audio is working. Here we go. All right, hello Anger Dude. You're muted. Can you unmute yourself? Hello, sir. Let me see if I can fix your... I mean, it doesn't say you're muted. I don't know why you're unable to talk, though. Let's see, I'm gonna move you back. Sonic, you gotta fix his audio so that I can hear him. He seems to be unable to unmute himself. Let me see here. Yeah, allows members to talk, so you should be able to talk. All right, let me move you back. Just fix it with Darth Sonic, okay? All right, I'll bring you back in a moment when you get it figured over. It's over for Discord cells. Yes. There are plenty of attractive women who are spewing the feminist garbage. FFS. People can't get it through. His audio's not working. I don't know why. I can't hear him. He can't talk.
What the hell? I had a whole conversation with him. His mic was fine.
All right, just go fix it and let me know. I won't drag him in here until I see his microphone and his headset is not muted or deafened, and I'll drag him in here. Okay. All right. So anyway, yeah. So of course there are. It's all about what works. That's all it is. So, like I said, and I've been saying this for years, and I have not been wrong, okay? There is no such thing, ultimately, as a trad woman. They're almost unheard of, because on some level, their liberation matters to them, even if they don't know what it really means. And they also exclude from that liberation their duty as women. Men understand that being a man includes some duties, some responsibilities, I guess, that are important as they define your manhood. This is what we are attracted to. But women also have them, or they're supposed to, in theory, but they don't express them. So, I'm waiting for, Anger Dude is still, I don't know what's going on with his thing, but okay. So anyway, while I'm waiting for this guy to come back, I want to show you something else. So we got that. And is it the whole conversation about the election and all of our politics has basically come down to being split along gender lines or sex lines, and it has been for a long time, but it's becoming more and more obvious now. Okay, so let me find the other thing I wanted to show you. Lauren Southern, here it is, I think. Okay. So this is, and I know I'm picking on Lauren Southern, but I have to because it's a very good example of my issue here. Okay, so Ian Miles Chong, who's like the resident Twitter engagement farmer, has shown a clip here. It says, "Incredible! Kamala Harris has packed audience at a hangar in Detroit where her plane has landed. They're giving Trump a run for his money." Now, there's a number of reasons why this might not be real, but I do think that there is a lot of support for Kamala Harris, and it's on the basis that it's a woman, period. Like, that's it. That's the reason. Okay, let me show you guys watching on the vertical so you guys can see this video clip of the crowd that has gathered. Now, it's also possible that they were offered like free barbecue and sodas and and they showed up, or it's a bunch of union people or people from a university that were brought down here for a field trip or whatever. All that's entire. This could be astroturfed for sure. Okay. But it doesn't really change the fact that there is a lot of more enthusiasm around Kamala Harris for the simple fact that Kamala Harris is a woman. And we're going to find out come November how gynocentric our society is. And I think you might be surprised. I mean, maybe you guys wouldn't be surprised. But, so, why did I bring this up? So that you have this energy for a woman. And Lauren Southern comments on this. Now, I know a lot of these people, they speak from this perspective of like, what they believe is tactically viable. Like, here's how we should be behaving, or how we should use our language so that we can improve our chances of winning. But there is some value in saying that, but the problem is that you are setting a standard that we can't possibly maintain for men to treat women a certain way. So anyway, Lauren Southern says, let me go back to the source here. All the comments responding to this in denial do not help at all. The media, big tech, and schooling systems are all captured and indoctrinating the populace. It's going to ruin the country. Also, no one supports Kamala. You can't have it both ways. Actually, you can. You can have it to where there's an establishment that will spend endless resources to keep their puppet in power. Because let's be real, Kamala Harris is not actually a politician that's actually running on anything. She is simply a puppet that is doing the bidding of the system, just like Joe did before. So this isn't even like an organic thing, because Kamala was polling lower than everybody else back when she was trying to run for president. And now there's all this energy, but you can't underestimate the power of energizing the sisterhood, because that's like ultimately what, if there's anything that's supporting this, that's what it is. Okay. So she says, you can't have it both ways. She is popular. Doesn't matter if it's fair or not. To take a page from the boomers, life's not fair. Work harder. So again, this is all empty nonsense. Perhaps consider different approaches, like appealing to demographics you're majorly losing, or don't shrug. So what does she mean by that? She's referring to women. Lauren Southern is saying that a couple of things here that are completely wrong, by the way. Number one, first of all, Canadian women, shut up about our politics. First of all, because you don't live here, you don't deal with the consequences. But beyond that, the big tech and schooling and media supporting her is 100% viable and not at all contradictory to the no one supports Kamala thing, because the system, the cathedral supporting someone to be their puppet, is not the same as the people supporting that person. But again, okay, I'll bring him in.
Right now.
All right, I'll bring him in a second. Thank you. But maybe because you're Canadian and you don't actually have any voting power over who gets to run your country, you don't understand how that works for us Americans. Maybe that's what it is. I don't know. But anyway, she is popular. Not true. Again, now maybe there was some artificial enthusiasm constructed, but so that women would feel like that's our girl. But I think that it's not, it still doesn't reflect on anything in reality, based on polls and based on actual like elections that were held to decide who the nominee was going to be. And Kamala was at the bottom. She ranked the lowest. She is not likable at all. But then she says, to take a page from the boomers, life's not fair, work harder, which is her way of like giving it to the, to the right, because she's such a reality pill centrist now. And then she says, perhaps consider different approaches, like appealing to demographics you're majorly losing. Women. So now we're at this point here where we have to decide whether or not it's more important to do what is true and right, or just support women. That's where we are now. That's where we are now. That's what we have to do. All right, now let me just switch back to my camera. So I reposted this because I wanted to bring this up. So Lauren Southern replied to this guy named Brad Pitt, who said, appeal to childless cat ladies. You're not talking about blacks for sure, because they tried with blacks and they'll never vote Republican. I'm not going to be nice and lie just to get the crazy cat lady vote. I'd rather effing lose. And again, like, why are we doing that? Like, the decision as an American, believe whatever you want, okay? The decision is clear. If we want to, like, survive for the next 4 years and be able to afford things like groceries, we have to vote Trump, period. There's no middle ground. There's no fence. It doesn't exist. It's either you destroy the country because they want to open the borders and they want to just let everybody in, and they want to just destroy the economy, and they want to give free housing, and they want to throw all of our money away. Kamala's literally picked a communist governor of Minnesota who let his state go to absolute crap over a drug addict, okay? That there's no, like, I'm sorry, like, it's like, even like with the mildest amount of passive rationalization, Trump is the only clear candidate. I'm not being partisan. It's just true. If you want to live for the next 4 years, okay, that's what you got to do. That's all it is. And like, anyone that's making a rational decision is like, you know what? I'm gonna go with this because these people are horrible. The Democrats are horrible. They don't care about us. They're going to kill everybody. I mean, like, I'm not exaggerating. They're destroying the economy right now, you know, and they're gonna make it like just a little bit better right before the elections. So they can say, look at all the good we've done. But that doesn't matter. That's got to go. Okay. And when even if I'm wrong in why I decided to vote the way I did so only looking at what is best for the country, which includes my friends, my family, my community. Okay. I'm not thinking about me. I'm thinking about all these other factors. In fact, I have probably more cause to vote in a way that is more socialist to benefit myself in the short term, but I know that it's absolutely wrong to do so, and I'm against it on principle. But again, if I was a selfish narcissist, I might do that. Now, on the other hand, you have what Lauren Southern is saying is essentially, be nice to women, otherwise they'll vote to destroy the country. And it's like, how about they shouldn't do that? How about that's stupid? And they're profoundly stupid for even entertaining this idea. What about a woman's duty to her country? I mean, men are always told about how they have to have a duty to their country. What about women's duty to their country? Is that even a part of the conversation? And it's no wonder that men are like, well, why should I do it? They're not doing it, right? So she says she's trying to present another both sides argument here, okay? She's trying to present another both sides. Here's her both sides. We're at a wonderful standoff between women refusing to vote for their interests because men are mean, and men refusing to be nice to women even if it runs the country into the ground. LMAO. I'd rather effing lose than be nice to cat ladies is a great summary of this election. Now look, again, she thinks this is a brilliant 1 million IQ centrist fence-sitting take. Is it? Tell me what you think in the comments, okay? So I'm going to bring in Anger Dude again. I'm going to give him a chance to speak to the video that we just watched. So I'm going to bring him in now. Let's see if this works. Okay, hello, sir. Can you hear me? Can you speak? Are you at the microphone? Okay, all right.
Yeah.
Hey, welcome to the show. What's up? What's on your mind?
Hey, yeah. So it. By the way, engineer dude. It's short.
Oh, engineer dude. Oh, yeah, that makes sense.
Sort
of. I mean.
Yeah, it's something I've been held for a long time. A lot of this stuff, it seems, comes from the concept of what government is for. Like,
yes.
these commercials that all play into what they think, which is a take care of you, nanny protective thing versus what it originally was for and should be for. It's a tool to prevent anarchy. Like, if there was no government, we'd just start killing each other to get the food, kind of thing. The strong would take over and people would push each other aside, and it seems like a messed up perspective. And that's what they're playing to, is it's that fear that keeps them in the nanny role versus the tool role.
Yes, sir. Yeah, so you this is your thought on that video that I just played of those men being all sweaty and weird? Okay.
Yeah.
So and who benefits from this? Like, who is the target audience?
Basically everybody who doesn't have the perspective that they can take care of themselves. So the weak men that we've created through the indoctrination, as well as inherently women, because that feeds to the vulnerability of somebody who can get pregnant. Hey, we need to be able to take care of you.
You seem
psychological
you seem
thing.
to be a little hesitant to just say women.
Yeah. I work in the corporate world.
Yeah.
I work in the corporate world, and I have to hold my tongue a lot, and you get kind of trained not to say the wrong words.
No, I understand. I know what you're saying, but you're being very you're being very diplomatic in how you approach it. So you say the weak men, and also kind of like generally, broadly speaking, women. And really, I get why you're saying it, but I just want to say it's just women. I mean, there are men, but men generally don't want to leech off of the system. Men would rather go homeless than like leech off the system, which is why so many men are homeless. Even weak men would just accept their lot and say, well, I guess I just don't have a job. Well, I guess I just don't have a home now. Or they'll just like, couch surf or whatever. But they won't be able to whine to the state to help them. Not only because they generally don't want to, but because they're not going to get any sympathy. Right?
Agreed. The thing is that the weak men will do what the women want.
Yes. Well, they'll support the women. That's
right.
That I will get behind. Like the video that basically just created an entire demographic of gross, cringe, like sweaty, rapey dudes. They just made this demographic out of thin air, and they all vote the same way for some reason. And there are men who will say, well, I'm not one of those guys because those guys are creepy and gross and weird. So I'm going to protect the women folk because I'm not one of those. And that it literally doesn't just divide women against men. It divides women against men and men against men. And it's super effective because men are always, I'll show you, milady. I'm going to step in there and I'm going to save, the day, but I'm not going to give you any of my resources because like, fuck that, right? I'm going to keep my money. So instead,
because
just
in our
taxes.
heads, in our heads, women are a resource that we want to go get and protect and build for.
Yeah.
I mean, no woman made the Taj Mahal.
Yeah, for sure. All right. So, thank you for saying that. I'll also bring in this other thing. I don't know if you heard me, but when Lauren Southern said, and Lauren Southern is one of those conservative women, she said, we're at a wonderful standoff between women refusing to vote for their interests because men are mean, which, again, this should be something we're all pointing and laughing at and saying, look at how stupid these women are being because they're allowing their discomfort at men who have opinions on Twitter to essentially affect their voting patterns. So when a man says, maybe you shouldn't be voting for this bullshit, or maybe like, I don't know, like an abortion that you're probably not even going to have, because women are siding with abortioners, women who want to have abortions. They are siding with them by default because they're women, even though they themselves, if you ask them, will you ever get an abortion? They would say, no, I'd never get one, but I'm going to defend my sisters. So it's like, not only is it women are saying, I want to vote for my comfort. So my comfort as a liberated woman, even if I don't ever exercise it, is more important than a life. Like that's what they're saying, guys. Like I'm sorry, but that's what they're saying. Like that's what we have to stop acting like this is like, well, it's no, like they're saying it's not even whether or not it is a life if we're having a discussion about abortion, which by the way is it's like their one issue vote that they want to get. Like that's so important, right? Is this, even if they would never exercise it. So what are they saying? They're saying, even though I would never do this in a million years, and I'm sure I would never put myself in a position where it becomes necessary, I really want that to be available just in case. And I don't care, like it will cause me to vote completely against what makes sense, even if that's way below on the list of priorities of things to vote for. It's just, and what does that ultimately mean? It's just my comfort. I'm liberated, so I want to remain liberated. Anything that doesn't make me feel liberated is Handmaid's Tale. So I have to go against it. That's what it is. Am I wrong?
No. It is something that affects them back in like the middle of the brain, back in the decision making, the amygdala, and they know that they don't want to raise a kid that has inferior genes, that is not worthwhile. It's such a huge investment to be pregnant that having that kid and having that kid be, worthless is an instinctual old mammalian fear. And everything that comes out of their mouth to defend that is post hoc rationalization. I feel this way, and now going to create explanations to justify it, and I'm going to vote to justify it to build this protect this fear. It's like starvation. That fear, it's so ingrained into them.
Yeah. Yeah. All right. Well, I got to take the next caller. So do you have any final words before I move on?
No, thanks. I love Honey Badger Radio. Just
All
like
right,
what you guys
thank
do.
you. Yeah, thanks, engineer dude, for coming on, and I'll try not to forget your name in the future.
Have a good one.
All right, I'm going to move you back. Tell the next guy that I'm going to be bringing him in shortly. Oh, he just hung up. Oh, shit. Okay. Well, okay, let's look at this. Our boy Disorder Drew wonders why women blame men for all the bad things in their lives when most of the policies negatively affecting women was voted in by women. Well, that's a good question, but let's bring him in and find out. Again, thanks, engineer dude, for coming on. All right, Disorder Drew, welcome to the show. What's on your mind?
I would like to say that it seems to be very hard, or people can't acknowledge the fact that the reason why, if only men voted for the last 2 decades or more, then women would be way better treated in today's Western society than they currently are, because all the things that affect women in a negative way from a legal perspective or from a societal perspective does that way only because of the left-wing political retardation that the women kept voting for over and over and over again.
Sure.
So why does people keep blaming men for the circumstance of women, that if only men were in charge, then that wouldn't be the case for women?
Because blaming men is the pastime of modern society. We blame men for everything. It's like women want to create problems and they want men to bail them out. And when men bail them out, they blame them for stepping in and infantilizing women. But when men don't bail them out, they say, "Why didn't you stop me from doing that?" Have you ever I've actually had this happen in my real life where women make very bad decisions and men, if they don't step in, the women will blame them for not stopping them from making bad decisions. It's like if a child puts his hand on the stove and burns himself and says, "Why did you let me do that?" And I'm not kidding. This happens all the time. I'm not saying it's a psychological, evolutionary trait. I'm just saying this is what the complete erasure of accountability for women has done. It has gotten to the point where people like Lauren Southern, supposedly really smart, people, are saying, why can't men just be nice to women so that women don't vote to destroy the country? Instead of saying, why can't women not just vote to destroy the country? Like, why is the man as a middleman, I guess, in this becomes a more important linchpin than women simply adjusting their behavior rationally?
Yeah, exactly, because if you actually are rational and you can shoot him, this guy is saying mean things to me. This guy wants to import an army to rape me and want to keep me from identifying as a woman, even though I am one. I'm not one, but I'm just thinking about if I was a woman, I would think that. If you choose that you would rather have somebody importing an army to rape you, or someone to completely dematerialize your own identity as a woman, then if you think that's less of a problem than some people being mean, then you're kind of like an idiot. I don't know how to say it in any nice way, because you can't.
Yeah, I mean, it's a tough situation. I think that ultimately the only thing I can see is that we have to stop prioritizing women's comfort over what is right and true.
So go on.
No, that's it. I'm just saying, I'm sick and tired of worrying about what women are gonna think if we simply say, look, you're being asinine and this is unacceptable, or at least to be when it comes to entering this discourse, what is it that you think that you have a duty to do? What is it? What is your duty? Not even as a woman, as a person, as a citizen, right? What comes first? And I don't think that is even on the consciousness. It's just well, what do I want? And this is why, by the way, they always assume that's what men do. They assume that when men pursue a job or start their own company or go and vote for a candidate or push forward a policy idea or form a think tank, that it's all it is men doing what men want for men, and specifically men in that moment, or men as a group, when that is like the last thing. Like, men do not think of themselves as part of a brotherhood. They do not have a collectivist mindset when it comes to men, and they certainly don't generally center their own comfort at the expense of everything else. They don't. So it's just not the same. But women think that men are doing that, which is why they don't like it when men, go and do things on their own, or form groups with other men to like talk about ideas, because women think that they're plotting something. It's like, no, that's what you do. Men don't do that. But they just don't.
No, that is true, but it's also like it's not seem to women doesn't seem to, but in general, I'm not saying all, but when it comes to voting patterns, they don't seem to like vote in favor of their own interest. They seem to vote on favor of their own emotional reaction to what most recently happened. Like, because if you think about that they can either have their identity be like stripped away and dematerialized by this government who can't even define what a woman is, or by having a bunch of immigrants who then increase rape and sexual assault of women in the country. They can't see that. So it's not about their own like comfort, like as a physical being, but more of like their like emotional reaction to what like just happened, like that they could observe directly.
Yeah, so then, okay, let's go back to the video I watched earlier where they talked about, where they had like this, I guess it was a campaign ad that had all these creepy dudes, and they were talking about how they were going to get into women's business and like get into women's bedrooms, and they're going to control women's, rights and all of that. Did you see that video I played at the beginning?
No, but if there is any group of men that try to do that, that would be the men that the woman voted into power when the most other men voted against them.
Yes, that is a rational and very like well stated, reasonable statement, but we're dealing with people who it is correct. I'm saying it is correct, but we are dealing with people who they don't see that despite what they vote for, ultimately it is women that are choosing to get involved with women's business, because women are the majority of voters. But women are so separated from those choices that when all they see is men talking about like abortion or contraception or whatever it is, and they're presuming this is men doing this now, even though women voted for it, even though women are mostly there are more pro-life women than men. They're like, even though it's all women, like this is all women fighting with other women, and they're just using men as their proxies. And so they see the men and they say, oh, it's men doing it, which is, yes, you're right. You're 100% correct, which is, I was saying this too, but it doesn't matter because we're dealing with people who don't care about the truth. They just care about their feelings.
Yeah, so it seems that there are more women that are feeling oriented than men are when it comes to voting decisions.
Yeah,
that kind of makes sense, but like, shouldn't we just hammer on the fact that the most women voters the last 20 years does not care about themselves, but only care about, they don't think at all, they just feel, and they don't care about their own safety.
Well, that's what they're counting on, right? And like, that's what I guess the reason why I kind of pick on people like Lauren Southern a lot, or Sydney Watson, is because I'm pointing out that despite them, supposedly being more rational, they're still acting on emotions. Lauren Southern is still saying, why can't we be nice to women? It might be better for us. And it's like, because women are not being nice to anybody. Like, they're being completely irresponsible and childish.
But in like society, and most people and most politicians are nice. Nicer to women than to men, if I were to be completely honest. And it's like, I basically have this saying that to base your entire country, that's why I hate direct democracy, like to base your entire country's political policies on the feeling of the average woman after reading the mainstream media news is not a good way of running society. Would you agree with that statement?
Yeah. I would. All right. Well, I got to take the next call, Disorder Drew. But do you have any final words before I move on?
Well, mainly just that this is just a statement we should throw. No, it's one thing. That is that you're right when you say that women basically used to vote for the self-interest rather than the principle, because the reason why Sweden got a regime shift and they are anti-immigration now was and had a record low immigration was because a lot of women and immigrant women actually you said this is dangerous for us and we're going to vote against it, and now their country have the lowest immigration level that they have for 50 years, and they actually have a net out immigration than immigration, and the person that was deciding the policies was a woman. So we know that women have the capability of voting for their own interests and do this whenever they can, but they're just refusing to everywhere, which is like very interesting to me.
Yeah, no, that is interesting because I think that women, I will say this in, I guess in favor of women, if they see the winds are changing and they think it's more socially acceptable to have a certain political perspective on immigration, like in your example, they will swing that way. And so, and this is, it is based in emotion, but the emotion is like the desire to feel like you're fitting in. So there's this agreeableness that happens. If they think that all the other women are going to vote against immigration, then they'll vote against immigration. And it's not rational, but it is emotional. So, and I've seen that.
Doesn't that mean that politicians should actually take more emotional care if they want to win elections?
I mean, yes, but like, I don't think that in the United States, at least, or in Western countries, it is possible to play the same leverage game that the left does, because the left is very, very favorable to women until there is enough suffering and consequences that women will start to change their mind. But like right now, they are still being like very irrational about what makes sense. So and I think it's partly because the thing is that like as bad as things get, like with pricing, like inflation, immigration, tensions and all that, I think that women are still very protected by men. So they're not feeling it yet, but men are feeling it, right? So and men are saying, well, this is unsustainable. We have to fix this. But women still can't see it as clearly because they are still cushioned or protected from those consequences by men, even though women are voting for it. But the men are saying, look, you have to change the way you're voting because it's affecting me, but it will affect you. But the women are like, well, it's not affecting me yet, so why should I care? I'm just going to keep on doing this, right? Yeah.
Until it did, and that's what we saw happen in Sweden. Then it did, and then the flip happened.
Yes. So it's a catch-22 because we are protecting women from the consequences of their own actions, and it is going to cause men and children to suffer before women notice. So that's it. But anyway, I'm going to move you back into the screening room, and I'm going to grab the next person. Thank you, Disorder Drew, for calling in. Appreciate it. All right. Let me see here. So before I bring in the next guy, which is Nixon number 2, wants to ask why you voted Democrat, apparently. He also wants your opinion on a debate he had with David Pakman. I will bring him in a moment. I want to mention this. So Wallace Unchained, who I had on the show, pretty based. I like him. He replied, and this is a very good post, to Lauren Southern's post. And he said, again, I ask, since when do we pander to men in order to win their vote? We don't. Men vote based on what knowledge they have on politics and the economy. And they're usually voting, again, in the interests of their children, their communities, and their society, and not just themselves. Now, this is not to say that women don't do this, but single women are way less likely to do this than married women or women with children. And this is the reason why, by the way, the left and feminists want to keep women single and miserable. That's because they will turn them into a voting bloc, which they have effectively done. So he says, if women, even such as yourself, are truly voting based on who panders to your identity or the language used, It only demonstrates women's political incompetence, not men's. Women either need to learn to care about what a country needs or surrender the vote. Now that is base. Thank you, Wallace Unchained. Shout out to Wallace Unchained, who I've had on the show before. He's right. That's it. It's just like, what is your duty to the country? What is your duty to your society? Like, let's some people don't want to talk about politics. Let's just put that aside for a second, okay? Just like the way that you carry yourself in your day-to-day life in the world, okay? Who you look out for, who you try to protect. Who are women protecting? They're not even protecting their own children because they want to be able to get abortions. So they're not even doing that. So who are they protecting? It seems like all of their energy is pointed inward towards themselves. Like they want to feel safe, and I get it. So women have a lot of reasons to feel unsafe, not because men are a danger to them, but because women generally always feel unsafe because they are in fact the weaker sex. Okay? But this is what I think dividing men and women from each other does, is it makes women more and more paranoid and anxious and like just feeling like every day is like a struggle. And men, they just become despondent and disinterested. And so like even then men will still try to be productive because it gives them a sense of purpose. It doesn't mean they have to serve women per se. They could just be serving themselves. They might like want to watch a company grow, or they might be on a team and they want to see that do better or whatever. But they're still trying to build something, right? So you create cat ladies, and then the cat ladies act out in the world, and you don't have to pander them anymore because you've made them paranoid and terrified of everything, and it works. All right, so I got a Rumble rant. Let me see if I got a super chat, and then I'm gonna bring in the next guest. So for the call-in show, gives us $10. Thank you, and says Base Badger Brian brings the best bits. Thank you for that alliteration. I got through that pretty well. And then I got let me just make sure I didn't miss one. I think I got a Rumble rant from NovaFan21, who says, imagine if America becomes so unstable that hypothetically an anti-woman, pro-patriarchy candidate runs and wins by popularity. That would be insane. But I don't think a pro-patriarchy candidate would be anti-woman, though. I don't think so. I think that it might be what women need. I'm just saying we might have to consider like a legit patriarchy, because I don't see women changing anything. I don't see them deciding to make, to do things for the benefit of society. Even if it was only for the benefit of their own children, that would probably benefit us all, but they're not doing that. So I'm not saying the patriarchy of feminist imagining, that's just like paranoid horror babble, but just like, yeah, maybe. I mean, maybe we need men to just like run shit. Okay. So, and that would mean, by the way, I would also be submitting to that in a way, because not all men are created equal. I mean, we have the same rights, but like we're not like the same in terms of our ability to affect change. So it's just like when people say, military service is unfair because the standards are too high and women can't meet them, and therefore it's male dominated. And it's like, yeah, but most men can't meet those standards either. So it isn't just a man thing. It's basically like a meritocracy thing. And in many cases, the meritocracy is going to shake out as mostly men, but it's going to be like the best men, like better than most other men. Like the guys at the Olympics are mutant freaks of human nature. There are no normal men watching that going, well, I don't feel represented. I mean, or even feeling represented, because it's like, yeah, that's a man, but he's nothing like me. But like men can understand that, they can be like, well, I know where my place is. It's like an understanding of your place, I mean, some of you guys are probably better at math than other guys. It's just the same. And a normal, rational human being would be like, well, yeah, he's better than me. And that's the end of it. Anyway. So Nixon number 2 wants to ask why you voted Democrat. I'm going to bring him into the chat right now. Let's see what he's going to say. All right. Welcome to the show, Nixon number 2. Can you hear me? You are muted. Can you unmute? You might have to unmute yourself. I don't know. right click on your name and see if there's an option to unmute yourself. Okay, it's not working. I'm gonna put him back in here. Hold on a moment. And yeah, figure it out with Darth Sonic and send me a message when you're ready. I'm gonna put you back, okay? All right, Nixon number 2 is having some audio trouble. I don't know what's going on with you guys, man, but let's take a look at something a little bit different. Here's another way that I already put this. Let me just see if there's nothing else on Twitter here. No. Oh yeah, this is the misandry. You have to get votes. So I did see that this is my Twitter. Follow me at Badger Arcade if you want. I share a lot of dank memes there. So here's another thing I wanted to share with you guys.
That was my fault. I forgot to give him the caller.
All right, just give it to him and I'll bring him back in.
Yep, I did. I gave it to him.
All right, I'm putting it in. All right, go back out. All right, hello, Nixon number 2. Can you hear me? Hello, Nixon number 2. Oh yeah.
Otherwise, I can't hear you.
Oh, okay. I can hear you, Nixon. Can you hear me? Hello? Hello, sir? Hello?
Yeah, but I can't hear you. You have to pull in my other account, Nixon.
Oh, you want me to bring in the other one? Okay, I'll bring it in. Hello, Nixon. You have to unmute yourself. All right, hold on a second, guys. I don't know why this is being made so complicated. Hold on. I'm gonna move here. All right, Darth, can you hear me? Can you change Nick?
Yeah.
Okay, so Nixon number 2 can't hear me when he's in the show
I can
channel.
hear you now.
Okay, all right.
Yeah, I think you have to bring in both.
I'll bring in both then. Oh, this is so weird. All right. Okay, so can you hear me now? Nixon number 2. Nixon, you're on the air? Hello. All right. I'm sorry. We'll have to figure this out. I'll give you one more chance to come in a little bit later. This is not working right now though for some reason, so I'm gonna move you back into the screen room. I'm not angry. I just don't want to waste the time of my audience. Okay. So let's go back to this. So here we have Doug Emhoff. Do you guys know who Doug Emhoff is? Well, if you don't, then that means you're fortunate. It's fortunate for you. Doug Emhoff is the second gentleman. So what is the second gentleman? Second gentleman is basically the husband of the vice president. So when you have a president of the United States, the president's wife is called the first lady. If you have a vice president, the vice president's wife is called the second lady. And apparently, if you have a female vice president, Kamala Harris, then her husband is called the second gentleman. And his name is Doug Emhoff. And they are bringing him out of the basement to talk about toxic masculinity. And I want to show you all this. So let me just put this on the screen here for the people watching. So why is this? Well, Doug Emhoff is the second gentleman, which means that he is an authority on masculinity. He's like the first second gentleman, because there have not been any female presidents or vice presidents in American history, so he would be the first second gentleman. I know that's a bit of a mouthful. And he is on MSNBC condemning toxic masculinity. So this is how you appeal to women on the left. This is what you have to do. He is going to be the face of this. All right. So let's listen to a little bit of this, because this rhetoric that we've been talking about for over 10 years now, toxic masculinity. I remember when I first started to hear whispers of this, I was like, oh shit, this is going to have legs. It's going to go all over the place. And it did. It was on late shows. It's in schools. I heard about it in my art school for some reason. It's been everywhere. We have been inundated with this narrative. And what is toxic masculinity? Well, basically it's just being masculine. If you don't want to live as a trans person, let's go back to that earlier question. right? Not only playboys or transitioning to a woman. So they have created a dichotomy where you're either going to want to become a eunuch and live as a woman, which means you're safe. Well, mostly, unless you like go into a bathroom or play sports, in which case you can't do that either. Or you're a playboy, which is basically crossing every single every notch on the list of what it means to be toxically masculine. So what does it mean then? Well, toxic masculinity is just any masculinity that feminists don't like, which is almost all masculinity, even when it's expressed as femininity. Because again, if a man dresses up as a woman and walks into a woman's bathroom or goes to a woman's prison or engages in women's sports, he's also engaging in toxic masculinity, even though he's trying to present as female, because ultimately they're just attacking masculinity. And no amount of transitioning is going to protect you. So you might as well not bother and keep your fertility intact and your balls. So anyway, speaking of giving up your balls, let's listen to second gentleman Doug Emhoff, who is going to condemn toxic masculinity because he looks just like the kind of specimen that would have a really great opinion on masculinity itself. Okay, let's listen.
Can we just talk about masculinity for a moment? Has being second gentleman changed your own view of perceived gender roles or what it means to be a man?
This is something I've thought about a lot and something I've spoken about a lot. There's too much of toxicity, masculine toxicity out there, and we've kind of confused what it means to be a man, what it means to be masculine, where you've got this trope out there that you've got to be tough and, angry and lash out to be strong. It's just the opposite.
Oh my God. Oh my God. How many times have you guys heard this before? Like, this is never going to get old for these people. It's a never ending thing. This is a big question. Let's unpack it. Yes, masculinity. Oh my God, where to begin? Honey, child, sister, queen. Can we sit down? Can we rap about this? Alex W says second gentleman related to supreme gentleman, $2. Thank you, Alex. No, the supreme gentleman is above all of us. Second gentleman is like way down on the list, man. Wouldn't it be first gentleman? No, first gentleman is if we had a female president. So if Kamala Harris becomes president, then Doug Emhoff becomes first gentleman. Yes. And usually the first lady, historically, right? The wife of the president, they're usually like doing something, I don't know, like they just have stuff to do. I think it's mostly just for the optics. Like Michelle Obama was doing something about school lunches, and like I think Nancy Reagan was doing something with the Just Say No, campaign for drugs, as an example. I don't know. Like, nobody really follows what the first lady does. We just see them as, again, I think it's mostly just optics, because it's like, a president should be married and have a family because that proves that they are invested in the future of the country. So this is like part of that. And then there's like certain American ideals that people want to see. They're not necessary. Like, do they have any dogs? What kind of dogs do they have? How many kids are in the family? Things like this. And this is just to, sort of like maintain a semblance of order in that person's personal life, so that we don't think that, because if they're a train wreck in their personal life, then, kind of like how the vice president of the VP pick, whose name I can't remember, that Kamala Harris went with, is some guy with like, a crazy DUI. Like he was driving like crazy fast. I think it was like 90 miles an hour in a residential area or something, and he was drunk. Nobody was killed, but still, it's not a good look, But then again, compared to like the kind of shit that we see people getting up to these days, it seems pretty mild, in my opinion. Guys getting sodomized on the Congress floor and, doing crack in the White House. But anyway, so toxic masculinity, right? So let's read. Aldar Sonic, try to bring in both Nixons again. I think we fixed it. Okay, I'm gonna do that. Thank you for the super chat rather. And then Albert Nada says, why would anybody take a guy seriously who stays married to someone who sent an innocent person to deplete row for over a year and knew he was innocent at the time? Thank you for that, Albert. Okay, we're gonna try and bring in the Nixons again. So here we go. Let's see if this works. All right, Nixon, you're in the chat.
Hey.
Yes, hello. What's up?
Yeah, finally. So I had two really quick questions.
Okay.
You're not voting. You're not voting
What?
Republican.
I'm not voting Republican. No. What are you talking about? Yes, I am. Well, I don't know what you mean by that. I guess what I know for sure is I'm voting for Trump. Everything else is going to depend on who they are and what their policies are and what they're running on.
Oh, that's great. Okay. Thought something else. My bad.
Did you
I
think
guess
I
I'll
wasn't? Did you think I was going to vote Democrat or something?
Yeah, I wasn't paying attention and listening to your stream, so.
Oh, okay. Yeah, no, I mean,
yeah, so
I'm not a one party guy as much as like it might seem that way. I'm voting Trump for sure because I want to continue to live in this country and have it like take some steps towards like, sanity. But that doesn't mean I'm just going to vote red down the line. I'm going to look at individual people and what they stand on. I'm probably going to end up voting mostly Republican and then somewhat like independent or libertarian. That's it. No lefties.
So
yeah.
Yeah, I gotcha. So I guess I'll just replace that with another question. Did you saw Biden-Harris campaign ad where they were mocking draft dodgers? Do you
Draft
cover it on your show?
dodgers? No, I haven't seen that.
Yeah, maybe you should cover it on your show.
I will. I noticed there's been a lot of conversations about like the military stuff, which is interesting because at the end of the day, it's people deciding how, like what to do with men's lives. And there's another reason why I'm more in the America First camp because we're staunchly anti-war. I don't want us to have anything to do with what the hell's going on in the Middle East. I don't give a shit about Israel. I don't give a shit about Ukraine. I don't give a shit about Russia. I don't give a shit about Gaza. I don't give a shit about Iran. I just want America to be okay. And that's it. Like, call me a bad guy, I guess, for not wanting war. And men shouldn't be sent off to foreign countries to fight wars for other people. Our soldiers,
exactly.
They should be at home with their families. Like we didn't have any wars under Trump, no new ones anyway. So now we do. Now we got World War III at our doorstep, basically.
Exactly, and you know what I find interesting?
Yeah.
Do you know who Destiny is?
Oh yeah, yeah, sure, of course. The guy who was like begging for a fucking cleanse. Go ahead.
By the way, maybe you should talk to him.
Me?
Maybe
I would.
Yeah,
but
it could grow your channel.
Yeah, I suppose. I mean, I'd be willing to talk to him, but I don't know. He's not a good faith actor, and frankly, if you like, actually, you know what? I'll say something about this later. But is there anything else you wanted to say, Nixon, before I put you back in the chat, in the screening room? You said something about David Pakman?
Hey.
Yes.
Yeah, so we spoke last time, and if you remember, I was talking about my debate with Sam, the Majority Report. Do you remember?
Sam Cedar, yes.
Yeah, so you said you were gonna watch it. Do you have an opinion on it?
Oh, I haven't had a chance to watch it yet. Did you put a link to it in the because they make content like every day, so it's
yeah, I think yeah, I'll do it. I'll do it again, but I also
give it to Darth Sonic, and he will share it with me, and I'll watch it.
Yeah, sure. I will, and I also, that was really early, and I was new, so it wasn't that good of a debate. I had a recent one with David Pakman. I'll send that link also.
Yeah, send that one actually. That because I feel like I did watch that other one, but it was a while ago. Yeah.
Yeah, and the one with David. The one with David is much better, I think.
Okay,
I'm still really new at this, and I'm still improving. So yeah, that's it.
Yeah, fair enough. Okay.
Right.
All right, man. Well, thank you, Nixon. Really appreciate the call. I'm gonna put you back in the screening room. And he just hung up. Okay, cool. All right. So I already read all of your super chows. Destiny. So yeah, just talk to Destiny. Yeah. Well, I'm sure Destiny would come on if I asked him. I don't really want to deal with. He's not just a bad faith actor, guys. Okay. He's human garbage. Like, he's been human garbage since I heard of him. And you know what really upsets me? I just got to say this really quick. What really pisses me off? The way I see it, okay, people are having debates about feminism and men's issues and politics and capitalism and communism, and it's all fine on the internet. They're all debating, they're putting their thoughts out there. What do I think about trans people? What do I think about, systemic racism, whatever, right? We're just talking, and it's okay. Yes, a lot of people have really stupid ideas, in my opinion. A lot of people think that there's like nuance in places where there clearly isn't. It doesn't make you smarter to inject moderate crap into stuff that's obviously black and white. Like, is murder bad or not? Or, and then you have like, well, it depends, no. There's like, killing people is bad, even if it's in self-defense, because you have taken a life. Now, it's their fault, but that's not the same as just simply murdering somebody that's defenseless. Like, is animal abuse bad, right? Like, these are simple things. Is war bad? Do we want war? Do we want war sometimes? I mean, I'd rather not have it. So I think that at the very least, we should be able to have like a starting point. But when it comes to things like the stuff that Destiny and Vosh promote, for example, these lefties, these commies, I think they cross the line. And when the assassination attempt happened on Trump, to me, that was like the hard line in the sand. Like, if you can't be against that on principle and start asking yourself, why did we call people Nazis for 6 years, for 7 years, for 8 years? Like, the Gamers Are Dead articles, going back to how I got involved with this with Gamergate. What happened to Trump is directly downstream from that, because it's the same attitude. This idea that there are people who are less deserving of life because I disagree with them, and that there's something should be done. And Destiny sided with murderers that day. And when he did, I was like, okay, well, this is your decision, but now I get to dismiss every opinion you have from now on, because you're basically, ultimately, you are saying that all of this is going to come down to force. Like, I'm either going to be able to force you to live the way I think you should, or you're going to have to force me to stop. That's what when you agree that assassinations and attempts of assassinations are permissible in the discourse, then you're telling me what the discourse comes down to for you, which means that there's nothing to talk about. There's nothing to talk about. And there are people who have illegitimized their opinion on everything for how they have acted since then. So, for example, before Destiny said whatever he said, Lauren Southern used to hang out with him all the time. And she hasn't said shit about her association with him since, that I know of. If there is something, let me know. But the silence is deafening. The silence is deafening. It's like, well, I still want to be his friend, even though he was okay with assassination. Like, that is, I don't know where's the nuance. I don't see the nuance. I don't. Okay? Like, I will not associate with people who want to murder people, even if those people are like my, political opponents. I don't want that. That's the last thing. That's not how this works. Okay? So the fact that she used to be like best buds with him and hasn't said anything about this is very, very telling. And then you have Abba and Preach, who have also sided with him. Oh, he's our friend. We don't care about what happens in y'all's country. Two Canadians, by the way. Canadians, again, chirping up with their attitudes, their opinions. Guess what? You need to fix your own backyard, Canadians. Your government is a fucking mess. And it's your fault. It's your passivity. And the fact that you would criticize Americans because you think that we're mean compared to y'all, but that's why you're in the situation you're in. You haven't seen Americans get mean, okay? We've been pretty chill, all things considered. So when the chill is gone, you'll see. But again, like, I'm sorry, but I don't know what it is with people like wanting to maintain their like online friendships with absolute psychopath murderers, but you all need to like take a step back and check yourself. So, you know, the silence from Abba and Preach, or the, like, not silence, the indifference and the silence on the part of Lauren Southern and anybody else who was like buddies with Destiny, like when he said that, that should have drawn a very clear line in the sand for people, and it didn't do it that much. And that's really, really disappointing for me. I mean, I guess it would be if I thought, you know. Albert Data says, Destiny said blue collar men are bottom rung. I hope his ex takes him to the cleaners. No blue collar Joe ever lost his woman to a twink in a skirt. Yeah, well, all right. Anyway, let's listen to more of this toxic masculinity thing. And if you guys want to, there's still time to like put in some calls if you want. Albert Native Retro says, I blasted Abba and Preach in the comment section. Okay, well, thank you for that. But they're not going to care, because I think that they might think that their friendship with Destiny is more important than murder. So I don't know. But let's play some more of this.
You know, strength is how you show your love for people. Strength is how you are for people and how you have their back and how you stick up for other people and pushing out against bullies. I mean, that's what I believe it is. So every time I can speak against this toxicity, we're seeing it with our younger people, we're seeing it in our discourse, in our politics, in the media, you're seeing it as it relates to so many of the issues that we're pushing back on. So I think it's a problem, and I'm going to continue to use this platform every time I get to speak out against this toxic masculinity that's out there.
All right, I'm not going to play any more of this video, but I wanted to show you that the rhetoric is going to be really, really ramped up. So we're going to see, and I apologize on behalf of you know, our American political machine, because people in other countries are going to have to like hear this nonsense, this rhetoric about toxic masculinity, because frankly, it's all they have. So like, these are the weapons. Like, Trump went to a thing, and I guess he just took questions and just answered questions about, you know, policy and the border and the economy and foreign policy, you know, normal stuff that you would expect like presidential hopefuls to talk about when they appear on camera. And I didn't watch it, but I heard it was pretty freaking normal. And now on this side you have this. It's all like, you know, first woman, ladies get behind it, catch a bubble, Uncle Don, you know, this kind of like school marm talking down at you attitude coming from the left. This conversation, this toxic masculinity nonsense, this guy is going to become the poster boy of talking about this stuff for basically the rest of the year. And if they win, we're not going to hear the end of it. It's going to be toxic masculinity up and down. Our young people are, when they say that, they mean men. Our Zoomer men are a problem. Well, no, the problem is just men. Like, see, men in general are really getting sick of this stuff, and they're really starting to push back, and they're being vocal, and they're being unapologetic, and sometimes that comes across as rude. And then you get people like Sydney Watson and Lauren Southern getting their panties in a twist because a man had an opinion and they didn't like it, and they didn't hold back. And I'm sorry, but like, your over concern for optics is what killed Gamergate Part 1. So we're not taking it anymore. We're not listening to this. We're done. You're done. We're going to push back. And I think that men are going to push back a lot. And I hope they do. Yeah, so get ready for more pandering to black people, which is going to be just cringe. Pandering to women, oh my god, it's going to be so bad. The pandering to women is going to be off the chart. It's going to be record. Like when Hillary Clinton was running in 2016, it was bad, right? But Hillary Clinton wasn't really a popular woman. She was like older, and she had this history, and everybody knew about it, you know, and she just wasn't likable. But Kamala is like a woman of color, see? So that's like a +1 modifier. And they're going to ramp up the identity politics on her. It's going to be all about her being a woman, all about her being black and sometimes about her being Indian. So why not? Because she's, you know, they're going to play on both of those things. And then her husband is all about the toxic masculinity shit. And I bet the vice president's going to be on that too. What's his name? The guy from Minnesota who basically allowed his state to burn to the ground because a drug addict was killed on camera or died on camera. And he didn't have the balls to basically be like, well, maybe we should investigate this and be rational. No. He threw all those people under the bus and allowed all this to happen and allowed the whole city to burn and the whole country to burn and even the world to burn, all because he wanted to score some political points. But he's going to tell us about toxic masculinity too. So, anyway, this was going to be a thing with Karen. I think Darth Sonic is trying to send me a message. He might be getting another question from somebody. By the way, if you guys don't want to come into the call, but you do want to send through a question, you can do that. You can also send us a super chow and by going to feedthebachelor.com/just-the-tip, send it through. We'd appreciate it. So we got a text question from Disorder Drew. Blair White used to be on good terms with Destiny, but right after she found out that he was okay with murder, then she made a video taking a stance against him, immediately dragging him publicly and broke all connections with him. So if she did it, then why did not the others? Makes you think. Yes. Well, Blair White is in fact principled. That is one principled Truny bitch. And that's okay. I always liked her. Always did. She used to be a regular on the show. Good on you, Blair White. You got principles. You may look like a woman, but you're definitely, that was some manly shit. You got balls. And you know what? It really is. Like, you have to be like, you know what? You have to have principles. You have to say, I'm not going to tolerate this. That's it. Like, I'm sorry. Like, I don't have to talk to you anymore. If you're okay with assassination because you want to win, and even if you just rationalize it, like, you know, there was a guy I was on Wick TV, which is like this little debate channel that's trying to be like a big thing, but apparently they get, you know, Destiny on a lot and stuff. And the guy who runs Wick TV was talking about all of this stuff with the assassination, but the perspective was not one of, you know, murder is bad and we shouldn't engage in it, we shouldn't support it because it's bad, because on principle that's bad, and maybe this whole thing is making me question my entire worldview because I am siding with people who are okay with murder if it accomplishes their political goals. But no, he didn't have any of that to say. It was all just like, well, this is going to make us look bad and we might lose. You're an asshole. You're a fucking asshole. That's not why this is bad. Like, this is the thing. And these people, I'm sorry, this is like so evil to like essentially look at the consequentialism of something that has a clear morality to it and then dispense or make the morality secondary to how it looks or how it will affect your goals, and you believe you will essentially support despotic, destructive, and murderous behavior if it means that you will win in the long run because you think that ultimately you are the good guys and that you have to win. I'm sorry, but that's just absolutely terrible. And women who worry about the optics, people like Lauren Southern, what they say when they talk about this, they're engaging in the exact same thing. They believe that pragmatism is more important than morality. And it's just not. So anyway, I guess I don't have any more calls. I just read that last one. So being that we're about an hour and a half in, I'm going to quit the show here. There's nothing more to watch based on this video. He basically goes on about toxic masculinity for like 4 minutes, and it's all the stuff we've heard before because this guy just got the memo. He was probably sent a script. He was given the bullet points. The feminists were like, here's how you address toxic masculinity. Here are the examples. Here's how you demonize it. And here's how you put yourself above it. And you're still like, now you are the one good man. And that's kind of what the whole thing is. We knew this. We might go through it more if you guys wanted us to. You can ask us, send us a super chow by going to feedthebachelor.com/just-the-tip and let us know, do you want us to finish this video on another show? Let me know. NovaFan21 gives us $1 and says, I think the solution to women voting for bad policies in theory is easy by withdrawing from society. Oh yeah. But if simps still try to hold men accountable and for women's failings, how do we deal with simps? Well, we just need to shame them. Simps have to be shamed, I think. All right. So, anyway, thanks guys for coming on today's show. Sorry if it was a little bit chaotic. I don't know what you thought about this, but I appreciate you all coming out. If you guys like this video, please hit like, subscribe if you're not already subscribed. Hit the bell for notifications, leave me a comment, let me know what you guys think about what we discussed on the show today. And please, please, please share this video because sharing is caring. Thank you so much for coming on today's episode of The Badger Lodge call-in show. And we'll talk to you all in the next video. Where's the outro? Okay. Bye, guys.
Men's rights activists are machines, dude. Okay? They are literal machines. They are talking point machines. They are impossible to fucking deal with, especially if you have like a couple dudes who have good memory on top of that too. Holy shit, you're fucked.